Should I try remote working? Often a consideration I get asked frequently. So I've spent the majority of my career working in large organisations. However, recently, since 2019, some of my work has been performed remotely. Now, people often ask me, what's the right way to go? If you do have the opportunity for a remote working position, it's well worth considering it carefully, because not all of us get that luxury throughout the course of our career. So of course, there are advantages and disadvantages to setting yourself up as a remote worker. I'll start with some of the advantages. For example, you might find that there's a lot more autonomy of your schedule and autonomy of tasks through being a remote worker. So specifically, this means that you'll have more flexibility about when you schedule your work and the kind of work that you might get involved with. This is not always the case. It does, of course, depend on the position. Personally, I find that working remotely also allows me to focus in a different way. You see, personally, I'm quite comfortable in solitude, and working solo for me just is a natural fit. It lines up with my core values and with my personality too. Now, that brings me neatly to some of the considerations that might not be so optimal for remote workers. As mentioned, you're working solo, and for some people that can mean the risk of more loneliness. You're missing out on those organic interactions where you're around other people. There might be a buzz in the working environment. There might be opportunities to network. In addition, by being around others, it's easier to grow your reputation, because if you're working well and working diligently, people will see the impact that you bring firsthand. Whereas if you're working remotely, it's not so easy to convince others of your value. And I must stress that really remote working is not for everybody, given the fact that it really does, and studies have shown, mean that many people are at greater risk of loneliness. It can really impact on the sustainability of the work that we do. So what's the answer to the question? Well, as ever, it's a very individual decision that requires the balance of the pros and the cons. There are many more factors to consider, and those will be dependent on your unique situation. Personally though, I advocate starting with your own core values, and from your core values come a set of core beliefs. These are the things that really matter most to you and are most important when making careers decisions. From there, hopefully you can identify the key needs, and no career can satisfy all of our needs, but if we have some awareness of what we really need, the choice to work remotely will factor into that. Think about what you really need from your career position. And if there are certain things that you know you absolutely need and they're more likely to be discovered in a remote working environment, then it's likely that remote working is well worth a try. Good luck in your future endeavours.